Welcome back to Viewpoint. On social media earlier today, I asked if the IRS controversy makes you feel any sympathy for the Tea Party. On Facebook, Bill Ronalds wrote, "Doesn't anyone remember how the Bush Justice Department," he put that in quotation marks, "messed with federal prosecutors and state attorneys general who wouldn't play their game? Come on, Bill, be more American. That's from the Bush administration, so it didn't happen. Any Republican will tell you, in just a minute, history did not begin until January 20th, 2009, the date of Barack Obama's first inauguration as the first Kenyan-born president of the United States." If you have a comment for the show, tweet us at ViewpointCTV or at John Fugelsang, or use the hashtag Viewpoint, or post it on our Facebook page. Needless to say, my friends, this has not been a great week for President Obama. Between the IRS targeting scandal, the ongoing Benghazi hearings, and now the investigation to the DOJ and the AP, which actually is going to be a real scandal, defenders of the Obama administration find themselves stuck between Barack and a hard place. I didn't write that. But for those who have been looking for something to pin on the president, it's like Christmas came early. And for more on the Obama administration's week of playing defense, I'm really pleased to be joined by this panel. Three of my favorite people: editor-in-chief of thecontributor.com, Tina Dupuy; Forbes.com contributor, Rick Unger; and news director for the Tea Party News Network. I couldn't wait to have you because you're not in town, Scotty Nell Hughes. Good evening. Scotty, let me start with you. It's now clear that a government agency has been abusing power, targeting Tea Party groups, possibly for political reasons. Would you like to take a minute to gloat?
Well, normally I would take this moment on current TV to do the Macarena in honor of our immigration bill that's about to go through. But the sad part is this is actually a very serious issue. And it's not an issue for those of us on the right or those of us on the left. This is about the rights of American citizens. And while right now we can see that the Tea Party has been targeted, we need to make sure that there are laws in place, or more importantly being enforced, that make sure this is not any group in the future has to go through this type of intimidation that has been used by the Obama administration.
Now, how is it intimidation exactly, Scotty?
Oh, it's real simple. When you're sitting here and looking at 75 to 100 different 501c4 applications that have had to go through some major scrutiny, that did not have to be faced by the liberal 501c4 organizations.
That's not
I
true.
will tell you, a lot of these smaller organizations that do not have the resources like a good attorney or a good lawyer, I can tell you they probably just said the heck with it. We'll go join another group. We won't actually sit there.
And again, most Koch brothers organizations are tragically underfunded. Scotty, I'd like you to meet Tina Dupuy. Tina, would you care to respond?
Well, first off, there's no evidence that they were actually targeted. What happened was, there's no evidence that they were actually targeted. Now, I just read on the drive over here, I just read the IG report, and what actually happened, the 300 groups, this is true, that were flagged for extra scrutiny, which, oh, boo, were more questions. Of the 300 groups, only a third of them had Tea Party 912 or Patriot. Only a third of them. That means 2/3.
Okay, but we're still talking about 100 Tea Party groups that were scrutinized, whereas liberal groups, not quite as much.
Well, they're not disclosing who the other 200 is. The other 2/3 of that 300 have not been disclosed. So there's actually no evidence that they weren't liberal, that they didn't have Muslim names. I mean, all of this stuff, it's really, quite literally, it is the Tea Party, again, is a small minority making a huge noise.
But that may be the case, but Rick, hang on one second. Scotty, please. Scotty, let me bring Rick in, please.
I disagree a little bit with both of these fine ladies. I think the Tea Party was to some extent targeted, and they shouldn't have been. You know, breaking the law is wrong no matter who's doing it. However,
wait, what, a law was broken?
Yeah,
very possibly. Very possibly. We'll see. But more importantly, where I disagree with Scotty, I do not feel the least bit sorry for anyone 501c4 that had to go through this. The problem is they should all be going through this. Nobody should be specially targeted. Most of these organizations are not meeting the test of a 501c4, and that's on the conservative side and on the liberal side.
And isn't that a fair point, Scotty? Whether it's liberal or conservative or a religious group or a phony church, if they're trying to cheat the system while the rest of us pay our taxes, shouldn't they all be scrutinized?
I agree completely. There is not an objection to the 501c4 process and the round one of questions that we went to.
But you were complaining about it.
Yeah. No, but here's the deal. No, what I'm complaining about is that we were going to have to give our donors, as well as their contact information, as well as every single social media post that we had ever done for 4 years, and literally every event that we'd done in the past where congressional and senatorial candidates had attended, the actual people that we used to actually put these events
transparency.
There's a reason for that.
But can I bring back? Hold on, I want to go back to Tina's point here.
You're asking for government subsidy. I mean, you're going to have government scrutiny when you're asking for money from the taxpayers. I mean, what's wrong with that?
Tina, let me bring this back to you. I want to go back to your original point. Do you believe in ProPublica?
Yes.
Okay, they admitted that the IRS gave them documents that had the Tea Party involved with it. So they admitted it. You have your own IRS officials saying, the female saying, yes, I was told, you know, we did target groups that had Tea Party and Patriot. That is a fact.
That is a fact.
We were targeted. Yeah. You're going to have to admit that point.
It was not targeting. It was using inappropriate language. What they did was they flagged groups that had Tea Party in the name. It was called a be on the lookout for, and that is not targeting. Targeting denotes going specifically after these groups. What happened was they had more scrutiny, and I'm saying it's still a minority.
It's
of the
still
300.
Wait a minute.
Well, I'd like to ask a question about the scrutinization. Over a year before this IRS story broke and before President Obama apparently found out about it, conservative news outlets had been asking a lot of questions about being targeted by the IRS. So let me ask you, Rick Unger, why do you think those questions weren't taken seriously?
Honest answer?
Honest answer.
Because I think we were so used to the Tea Party saying such crazy things that we didn't take them seriously. We should have. We should have. I'm going to add that to it.
Agree.
Because I think that they were right in this instance. But when you cry wolf every other minute, then you have a tendency not to be taken seriously. Evidence exhibit number A is Glenn Beck.
Go ahead. You may respond, Scotty.
Rick, where have we cried wolf? Benghazi, we have 4 people dead because of Hillary Clinton not issuing the right orders. Fast and Furious, a gun running. Because these are all these scandals where people do not trust the American government for a reason.
These are non-troversies,
you know, I don't want. I'm not going
to.
And I really don't want to relitigate Fast and Furious because that was a lot of smoke. Hillary Clinton, you might not know this, did not actually carry out the assault on the Benghazi compound, and there's a little better of a birth certificate that has hurt the Tea Party a lot more than it's hurt the president. So
we still haven't seen the birth certificate yet.
Yes, we have.
Yes, actually, we have.
Let's see, we've had
just because you close your eyes doesn't mean evidence.
But I don't want to debate that. That's not the issue. We'll let that go.
Okay, folks, my friends.
You guys have no credibility. The
question is, does this mean the White House can't get anything done? And exactly how happy does that make Republicans? We'll get to that after the break. I love this. Welcome back. I am so happy to be joined once again by my panel, Tina Dupuy, Rick Unger, and live from Nashville, from the Tea Party, Scotty Nell Hughes. It seems controversy and scandal has been the only news coming out of Washington this week, and for many Republicans, that's just fine with them. There have been reports that Speaker Boehner is orchestrating much of the fervor over the Benghazi and other alleged scandals, yet he's careful to avoid fighting too hard on issues like gun control or immigration. So I'll start with you, Scotty. Is this the GOP plan for the president's second term, to avoid real legislative issues by focusing on these controversies?
Well, let me just tell you this, real legislative issues, what's more important than scandal after scandal that keeps coming out of our White House and our president's administration? I'm just wondering what type of scandal he might create in order to cover up this one, because that's what it seems like we've done, especially since the day that we re-elected or re-inaugurated Barack Obama. So, you know, maybe we might debate this the next 3 years, or maybe we might start impeachment.
Scotty, which of these scandals has Barack Obama created?
Well, well, it's not necessarily created because of his lack of leadership that is caused.
Oh, I was just going by what you said in the last sentence. Okay.
Yeah, it was that coming out of the White House.
Okay, so here, let me ask you guys then. Tina, should we give up any hope of any meaningful legislation going across in the next 3 years, or is the GOP's game plan firmly established, gridlock, obstruct, obstruct, scandal, scandal, and that's the best possible way to get a dispirited base to the polls in 2014?
You got it. The 112th Congress passed 219 bills that became laws. The average for Republican, Democrat, regardless, that's the lowest they've ever, since we've been counting, that is the lowest that has ever come out. The average is around 450. 219. About 10 of those were naming things after Reagan.
Exactly. And Rick, it is the most despised Congress in American history, yet it doesn't seem to bother our GOP friends because their game plan is established. The Democrats are walking around in clown shoes.
Well, you clearly established the Republican plans for the next few years. Whether or not that succeeds is going to have everything to do with how the Obama administration reacts to this over the next month or two. And as I think you know, as much as I like many of the things about the Obama administration, I'm not a big fan of their communication skills. So I am concerned about it. I think they've made mistakes in the past 2 weeks. But, you know, you have three things there that Scotty's able to call scandals, even though we may all know they aren't.
I'm not so sure AP is not a scandal, Rick.
The AP may turn out to be a scandal. And there again, it's a question of how does the administration deal with it.
Really quick, is Carney gone?
No, I don't think so.
Gone?
Holder, no, here's the problem. If you had asked me this morning, I would have said Holder's history. But then I watched his press conference where he didn't know anything, which I didn't like. But he did point out that he had recused himself from all of this. That may or may not save him.
It's not. It wasn't Holder's thing. I mean, if we're talking, that was the Deputy AG Cole who did this.
So
I mean, that was the same guy who came out who found out that Newt Gingrich was not using the funds.
Tina,
that's where Cole.
Indeed.
I want to say thank you for pointing that point out. Guess what? Less laws, less government. The Republicans did their job. I'm very happy for that. Thank you, Tina, for giving me that
Let me ask
fact.
you, Scotty, about Republicans doing their job. What are the major legislative issues affecting America and middle-class families that the GOP is going to be taking the lead on before next year's midterm elections?
Number one, making sure that our rights, like the Second Amendment and the First Amendment, don't continue to be infringed by this administration and the Democratic legislature.
What are they going to do to help middle-class families before the midterm elections? What are their legislative plans beyond blocking background checks so criminals can still buy weapons at gun shows without a background check?
More importantly, they're going to do everything they can to make sure that Obamacare does not go into practice, because that's one thing that is going to bankrupt the middle class.
Scotty, that's blocking. What domestically will the GOP be leading on to help middle-class American families?
Basically, we're right now trying to slow down this growth of big government and the entitlement plans that this administration continues to keep pressing. So right now, as long as they're sitting here and reducing the numbers of laws that are being put into practice, they're doing their job in my book.
Okay, that is an answer. Rand Paul said today that he feels that the responsibility for Benghazi lies with Hillary Clinton because, of course, she's the one who plotted and carried out the attack. And, of course, we remember when 9/11 happened, Democrats were the first ones to blame Bush for letting it happen. Is this just a naked attempt to knock her out of the 2016 race? And will it work?
Cynicism, absolutely.
But will it work?
I don't think that it will work. It didn't work to get Romney elected, and it's not going to work with Hillary. I mean, first of all, no one's going to remember this in 3 years. We're just not going to.
That's
the Tea Party will remember.
Right
The Tea Party will remember.
They don't even know
Nobody
where
will remember
Benghazi
4
is.
people
That's
dead.
true.
It's like,
We're
it's not
talking
gonna
about
happen.
Hillary Clinton, the woman eats scandals for breakfast. She is the one person of anybody we know in politics who knows how to face a scandal and beat the you-know-what out of it.
Scandal? This is a non-controversy. We have had 9 hearings. Nothing has come out of it. Nothing has come out of it.
Today
except
something
There's
did
been a
happen.
lot.
Go ahead, Rick.
You know,
please.
there's an email today. Oh, no, something.
Rick, please, this is very important.
Yes,
Go ahead and say
this.
this.
Something important happened today. Jake Tapper over at CNN found us the real email, not the email that everybody's been pretending the White House sent out, but the real email. And guess what? We've now watched another Darrell Issa extravaganza blow up in his face.
Right.
Because it isn't there.
Yeah.
It never mentions the State Department. It never seeks to cover up anything. It says, let's all get on the same page, and gives real information, not misinformation.
It's real simple,
Today
though.
was the
That's
beginning of the
Hold
end.
on.
You got it.
Let's go to Scotty.
Did the Benghazi embassy, though, fall underneath the Secretary of State's office? Yes. The buck
That's
stopped
not
with
clear.
Hillary Clinton.
No.
Okay,
that
so
is not
Scotty,
clear.
Scotty,
Took full
That's
responsibility
the
for it.
here.
Let's talk
Nobody
about
in
the
this administration will
CIA.
take
For it.
claim.
Okay, hang on a second. This Hillary
That's
Clinton
the myth.
did say the buck stops with me. She did say it, Scotty. You know
Absolutely.
that's
Oh,
true.
yes.
And the report by Admiral Mullen and by Ambassador Pickering placed the blame on mid-level State Department. You're also suggesting that the CIA bends to the State Department's will. But let me ask you a hypothetical, Scotty. Let's say that Benghazi fizzles, okay? It's not going to stick to the President or Mrs. Clinton. And let's say that the IRS thing fizzles, which it increasingly looks like it's going to do. Will the Tea Party take up the eavesdropping of AP reporters as a cause?
Well, of course, we don't like any of the First Amendment rights, even if it's for somebody on the other side, which a lot of the times people think the AP slants left. The key is rights are rights, regardless of what side of the aisle you stand on. And the Tea Party makes sure that those rights are protected, the constitutional rights that were given. And I know you're going to sit here, John, because I know you very well right now, and are going to bring in the gay marriage rights and other rights, because I know that's where you're going with. But you know what? I don't remember the Founding Fathers specifically saying marriage rights are in it, except for the marriage between a man and a woman. Traditional marriage rights first.
Right. Liberty as someone defines it. Editor-in-chief at thecontributor.com, the great Tina Dupuy, Forbes.com contributor Rick Unger, and news director for Tea Party News Network, who can't resist me, Scotty Nell Hughes. Thank you,
That's the adjective
as
I get.
always, for your great analysis this evening. Come see us in New York, Scotty.
Thank
so
you.
after all this criticism of Barack Obama, let's not forget who's doing the criticizing. Dick Cheney. Does he have a right to? It's in my commentary coming up next.